Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
The earth is in the process of transformation. A separation, such as when a cell divides. Half will remain in the third dimension, the old earth, where there is conflict and violence. The other half will ascend to the fifth dimension, the new earth, where no negativity can exist. All across the world, there are internet content creators that are sharing new information to raise your consciousness and prepare you to ascend to the new earth. Join me, Naimah, every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and we will introduce to you these voices of enlightenment. Grand Rising. And thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday edition of the Female Solution Global Broadcast. I'm Naimah, and today we want to welcome you to the new earth. Now, there are still people who are wondering, what is it you're talking about with this new earth thing? Well, the interesting thing is, as we've shown, the earth is literally splitting into two different dimensions. And one is a higher state of consciousness based on love. The other is a lower state of consciousness based on fear. And these two earths are existing simultaneously because they are reflective of the state of being of the people that are living in them. This new earth is not something happening by and by, even though it's been predicted for centuries of time by many of the seers, the prophets, the visionaries. But it's not something far off. It has been predicted as something that's going to be happening in our time, in these times, and it is happening now. It's not a place, it's a state of being, but you are experiencing it based on where you are in your spiritual evolution. And it doesn't have anything to do with other people's opinions. It is where you are in terms of how you have evolved. Many people have been giving us information over the last century, and particularly in these last several decades with the information age. So many are expanding our consciousness by sharing the knowledge that they're receiving, some from the non-physical in terms of inspiration, some as a result of hearing and seeing things that others have put out in the universe, and this wonderful tool of the internet that allows us to know what's happening all over the globe, so that even those in other countries that are getting these same revelations are able to share them with the entire human family. There are people who are having near-death experiences that are very real, even though the scientists will say, oh, well, it's, brain activity after oxygen loss. The reality is they are physically going through an experience in which their spirit, their life force energy has left the body and traveled to the dimension where all spirit resides. We are energy. And when our energy leaves our bodies, the body is no longer animated with the life force energy. It is a corpse. So people who have had this experience of leaving this temporary vessel have often described situations where they have reunited with others who are now in spirit, relatives, those who they've known from other lives of which they have no conscious memory of in this lifetime. And they've come back with some amazing stories. They've come back with some information based on an experience that often refutes whatever their religious belief system has taught them. So if you're holding on to a religious belief system that will not allow you to understand the vastness of existence, and if you are holding on to a belief system that's based on fear of punishment from an angry God who's condemning you for your sins, you are likely going to remain on the old earth, because the old earth is a fear-based system. And the old earth creates certain behaviors, such as fear of lack, and therefore selfishness, and therefore greed, and therefore inability to cooperate. So if you're believing that other people are evil and hateful and need to be suppressed or need to be feared or need to be eliminated, that's the energy that creates war. I fear you, therefore I must destroy you. I fear you because you will take what I have. I fear you because you will not share. Or I fear you because I want to take what you have and I don't want to share, and you may resist. All of these things are what we're experiencing now in this old earth energy of fear, where we have not learned how to do something as simple as cooperate. So the new earth is based on cooperative systems, and they are evolving right now as we speak. So if you're part of a community where people have perhaps learned how to share, maybe you have a food pantry, and so when families are going through a crisis, somebody's unemployed, somebody's elderly, somebody's sick, and your community gets together and makes sure they have food. Well, that's the beginning. That's the expression. That's the manifestation of a new earth society. If you're part of a community where perhaps the young people get together and make sure that the elderly are taken care of when in a snowstorm, they shovel the snow for them, and they make sure that people are looked after, and perhaps they may fix things for them because just out of benevolence, they care for them as if they're family, because we are all family. And if they have that awareness and are manifesting that in their belief, well, that is the expression of the new earth. So new earth societies are evolving right now in our midst because of people who have the higher consciousness of love. And so they're creating systems based on cooperation and sharing. They're basing their monetary systems not on how much I can withhold from you so that I have wealth and status and you have none, and I can treat you badly because I have money and you don't. They're creating monetary systems based on circulation of whatever is wealth, whatever is needed, whatever is necessary for our sustaining our lives. They may even be creating different symbols of whatever the exchange is so that everybody has access to it. So we're going to see different banking systems or different monetary systems or different monetary symbols. We're seeing it evolve even as we speak. And it's based on inclusion and not exclusion. So if you're part of a community that's developing something in which everybody can participate and everybody can gain because everybody has access to it, and it's based on benevolence, desiring for the well-being of others, that is an expression of the new earth. So we are seeing it evolve right in our midst. And we're seeing people who are aware create things that show a love, a concern, a benevolence for their fellow beings. We're seeing it. Now, you may be part of a community, and it may be based on your religious beliefs. It may be based on your geographical location. It may be based on your gender. It may be based on any of those physical things that are temporary. And that community may decide they're going to work together and they're going to cooperate and they're going to create a way that everybody is comfortable and their well-being and their needs are taken care of. And that's a good thing. But if in your community you have the attitude of an us against them, we're going to get this for us. We're not going to share. Those people are not like us. If that spirit is within you, then your community will not be successful, because that's the old earth energy of selfishness and fear. So a new earth community, while the people are cooperative and cohesive in their desires for the well-being of members of their group, they're not exclusionary in expressing hatred for someone who appears to be different, because there is an awareness that we're all one human family. So this is not the same as the exclusion and the separation of segregation and all of those other ugly systems in which vast numbers of people were excluded from comfortable living, because that's what made them angry and resentful. And so when you have anger and resentment over others who will not share, it creates a disturbance in which you may see nothing wrong with taking from them because they will not share. So that's where you get theft. Theft thrives in places where people will not share. Theft is unnecessary, except that those who have will not share, even though there's an abundance and enough for all. So when you have a society where people are fearful and believing that there's not enough and only a few can have the wealth and then they have to control it, you create the climate that we now have. The fighting over war and territory and resources, when the earth provides enough for all to live comfortably. And so the systems that are being created, there are new energy systems that are evolving based on what is already free: the sun, the wind, the water. We're going to see more people involved in the solar energy, wind energy, hydraulic energy, because these are things that are free. And the science will make it so that it's accessible, because it doesn't cost to live. When we cooperate and share all that the earth provides for us for free, then no one is deprived. And so this is why the people who can experience the new earth right now have to be evolved to a certain spiritual level of understanding. Those that are not will not experience it. They will continue to create that which is already hurting us. But if you're part of a community where you love and care for each other and you work together, to make sure everybody's needs are taken care of. You are expressing the new earth. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll share with you some of the works of Dolores Cannon, widely known hypnotherapist who regressed people back to previous lives. And often they revealed information that is not contained in our religious scriptures, but is in fact part of the earth's history. And she shares experiences that her clients under hypnosis described, giving us an understanding of why we are now in this stage of evolution to an earth that is ready for a different consciousness. Beings who understand love, cooperation, and sharing as a way of life. We'll be right back. I want you to take a look at this message that reminds us of how necessary it is for us to live with compassion for those who don't have. Because there are those among us who are suffering needlessly, when in fact, there is enough for all. We'll be right back, so stay with us.
Brother, in which we're doing this documentary for Douglas Robinson, your death will not be in vain.
He was a heck of a great dude.
And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
We are back, and you are watching this Wednesday edition of the Female Solution, Voices of Enlightenment. And we say, welcome to the new earth, because it is here among us. And we want to share with you words from a conference held by Dolores Cannon, who is widely known as a past life regressionist, bringing the idea of past lives to a world that was not ready to hear it half a century ago. Most definitely people whose spiritual beliefs would not allow them the thought that we are eternal beings having multiple life experiences, which she discovered as she regressed people under hypnosis back to very verifiable lives. And the things they told expressed an understanding of existence that was far beyond what people of that time were ready to understand or accept. But now there are many, 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 many who are corroborating her findings by their own personal experiences. And we discover that there are many souls who chose to be born on the earth at this time in order to steer it away from the doom that had been predicted by so many prophecies in the past. And their job was simply to change the energy of the earth, change its direction so that we could steer it away from the destruction that so many saw based on our inability to live together in peace. We've now tipped the scales, and this is why there are those who are ready to make that transition to a new earth in which we can all get along. So let's join Dolores Cannon as she speaks of a realization, even about the one we know as Jesus and his real mission here, and bringing a teaching that would evolve humanity out of a state of barbarism and hatred into the energy of love, which is the true nature of the creator and the creation, if we could merely recognize it. And if the things that you're hearing right now are different than what you have heard in any of your teachings, then it is your responsibility to explore and not just fearfully dismiss, because your future is in your hands. And right now, whether or not you continue to live on an old earth where there is fear, pain, suffering, war, violence, and poverty, or experience a new earth where there is love, joy, peace, harmony, cooperation, and sharing, it's a choice you're making right now based on how you choose to interact with your fellow beings. There is no punishing God that is condemning you to hell. You are experiencing the choice that you are making. And there are those who have given you an insight and the tools to understand. If you have an ear, may you hear. So let's listen to Dolores Cannon in her conference, where she speaks of the 3 waves of volunteers and the coming new earth.
This was supposed to be a planet, a beautiful, beautiful planet with a species that would never get sick and never grow old. It was supposed to be a perfect species. Maybe that's where the idea of the Garden of Eden came from. I don't know. But it was supposed to be a perfect species. And they said, give this beautiful people intelligence and free will and see what they do with it. Many planets in the universes don't have free will. I've had people go to those planets, and it's a totally different way of living if you don't have free will. Some of them are really glad to get out of that life because they're not at all what you think. But free will is very important. So they said we cannot ever go against the free will. So they give us free will. That's what was supposed to happen. We were never supposed to grow old. We were never supposed to die. We were never supposed to get sick. But something happened that spoiled the plan. A meteorite hit the Earth. And when the meteorite hit the Earth, it brought in bacteria for the first time that created disease. Before that, there wasn't anything. And they were heartbroken. There was a show on Nova years ago where they were talking about the different kinds of life on Earth. They said there's two kinds of life on Earth: bacteria and everything else. That the bacteria was the foreign element. It didn't belong. And this is what created disease. But when this happened, they said, what are we going to do now? They went back to the councils and they had the meetings, and there was great sadness in the councils. It was like, well, what do we do? Do we wipe the whole thing out and start all over again? Or do we let it continue to develop the way it is, knowing it will never be the perfect people we expected it to be? It was decided that so much work had been done to allow it to continue to develop, even though they knew it would never be perfect. Now, see, a lot of this, I think you would go along with if I do UFO lectures on why they're doing the experimentations with the sperms and the ova and all of that. They are bringing us back to the perfect state we are supposed to be. You understand all of these things. There's no negativity in what any of them are doing. They've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. One time they said in one of those sessions, why do people keep saying we're here to take over the world? It's ours, it always has been. We can't do anything to you as bad as you do to yourself. So they've been watching us all this time and taking care of us. And as they lived with the people, they were given these different inventions and things as the time was right. Fire, agriculture. When the species got to that point, they would give them the next invention. Of course, now it's got to the point they can't live among us anymore. There's too many people. So now when the next invention is supposed to be developed, it's put into the atmosphere. They don't care who invents it, as long as it is invented in the timeline. And, you know, you always hear about people all over the world are all working on the same invention at the same time. This is why. They put it out there. Whoever gets it, that's fine with them. That's the way they're doing it now. But I asked them one time, I said, okay. They said, you have free will. And then the prime directive of Star Trek is very, very real. Non-interference. You cannot interfere with a developing species. So I said, all right, you're coming and giving these things to the people. Isn't that interference? They said, no, that's a gift that we give them when the time is right.
They don't want you to know how toxic this is. If you're buying produce from...
So, of course, we will be right back after this quick. We play our commercials when it's commercial time. So we'll be back with Dolores Cannon. Now, she was speaking, of course, of what she gained, conversations that she had with her clients when under hypnosis. They were able to be regressed back to a past life when they were, in fact, what you would call an ET. They had experienced a life in which they were part of the organizing councils that organize the planet Earth. And what she learned from them is that the Earth evolved in its stage now and the ability to support life, just as every planet in the universe evolves. There are stages of growth. There are stages when the planet, after being a hot rock of molten lava and all of that, it cools down and the atmosphere develops in such a way where it can support an ecosystem. And so in her past life regression sessions, she would regress a person back to a time when they were one of the beings that helped to create a developing planet. So she explains that all of us are eternal beings and we've all had various lives because all of us are part of the one life, the one energy of creation we call God. All of us. And in that Big Bang, we all exploded out as part of that life force energy. And we're all having experiences and participating in the expansion and the creation of the universe. And Earth, as she's explaining, as told by one of her regressed patients, was a grand experience and an experiment that was intended to be a beautiful planet supporting physical life that was not intended to get sick and die. But then something happened, and that is what we are seeing now. How our physical bodies get sick and die. And that is very vastly different than what you may have been taught in your religious systems. But there are glimpses of that reality. There was a time when humanity was living in a state of perfection, and then something happened, and then suddenly we had problems. So what really happened? Well, we'll come back and hear more from Dolores Cannon as she explains the truth about our existence and why we're reaching a peak right now, where we're about to evolve to another level, and why we're about to experience a new earth where all of these problems are gone. We'll be right back. So stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom.
In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. Yes, we want to talk to you, and we want you to talk to us too. And I'm Naimah Latif, talking to you today about the new earth. We say welcome to the new earth because it is manifesting right in our midst based on the spiritual evolution of many who are now inhabiting planet Earth and are creating new systems. And we're going to return to Dolores Cannon in just one moment as we remind you of the qualities that it takes for you to experience this new earth. And what you're experiencing right now is who you are, what you are, and what you have created. So if you're living in a family and your family, they know how to cooperate. Maybe they all work together, and maybe you even may have a family emergency fund where you help out somebody who's in trouble. Maybe you all get together for family reunions, and you make sure you look in on those who are sick, and maybe you all combine your resources if somebody needs help, even with a funeral or some other catastrophe that they're going through. So as a family, you work together. So that's an expression of the new earth. But now, if you're in a family where everybody's fighting, maybe somebody died and people are fighting over the money, fighting over the house, fighting over who gets insurance policy, and you become bitter enemies, that's showing you where you are spiritually. You're not ready for the new earth, because within your family, you're expressing who you are on the inside. Do you understand the principles that the new earth allows us to express? And if we are conscious, then we're able to live according to those principles within our own family before we even get to the wider family of humanity. So within your family, if you've got anger, bitter, jealousy, resentment, you've got selfishness, if you're looking down on somebody who doesn't have, and you talk about that person and you let them suffer, rather than lift them up and try to heal whatever is hurting them internally so that they can be their best selves, you're not ready for the new earth. You're going to continue the old earth energy of meanness, because it's the meanness in the spirit of people that is manifesting right now. And we point to certain individuals, but it's not them. They are reflecting our own spirit. And when you are no longer reflecting that spirit of meanness, where you're cruel to people because they don't have, like we saw in that first commercial clip with our sister Zelda, who stands up for the homeless and helps to feed them every week. But there are those who will look down on people who don't have. And the reason why people don't have is because you won't share. So if in your family you have that kind of meanness where you blame people because you won't share, then that's who you are. You're being shown who you are. And we point to elected officials and blame them. But they are people that are reflecting the collective consciousness. So if the collective consciousness is one of ridicule of people who perhaps have less access to information and education, shunning of people because of the way they look, making fun of people because of the way they speak, shunning people because of where they were born on the earth, that is old earth energy. And from that old earth energy, you will experience the old earth where people hurt people. But for the new earth, there are certain qualities. There's, first of all, cooperation, working together. Collectively, you cannot succeed without cooperation. And if there is selfishness in you, resentment in you, you're not going to be able to create the systems of cooperation. You're not going to have access to the higher mind in which thought is shared, as we just heard from Dolores Cannon. Everything is vibration and energy, and even ideas that are benevolent ideas, that are helpful ideas, that are new thought and new inventions that can help humanity. You have to be on the higher level to even receive that information. Because as she said, it's put into the atmosphere. That's why you will get different people having the same invention at the same time, because they're all tuned into the higher mind where that thought is put. So we're going to see these things, but the cooperative kind of economy that's being created, you have to be in that spirit of cooperation. If you're fighting and resentful and hateful, you won't experience it. You'll experience what you created based on where you are in your own spiritual evolution. So are you with a group that's practicing cooperation? Or is the group you're with fighting and arguing? Whether it's your family or an organization, it's reflecting where you are. Because when you're no longer in that lower vibration, you will leave that group and you will gravitate toward those who are ready for cooperation. And the next thing is sharing. Sharing. Circulating what is considered wealth. Circulating what one needs. You give to others, they give to you. You share. If you're among people and they value excluding people who don't have and not sharing and looking down on people, then you're in that old earth energy and you will experience what old earth creates, and that is fear. Fear someone's going to take from me. Fear someone's going to steal my stuff. Fear so that I can't even enjoy my home because I have to barricade myself in it because I'm afraid. Because the people around me don't have, and I will not share. So I fear them. And I create systems where others have to repress people that I fear because I won't share. That's old earth energy. And if you're living in that kind of environment, that's what you have created with where you are. And when you no longer are in that energy, you will gravitate toward people who share. And of course, the next thing is benevolence. You do things out of benevolence, out of a desire for the well-being of others. Not what can I get out of you or what can I make you do for me? How can I exploit you because you need something I have and I'm going to make you do something to get it? It's pure benevolence. I'm concerned for your well-being. That's the systems that are being created. That is new earth energy. When you have benevolence, you are creating based on the desire for the well-being of others. What is happening now is designed to separate people so that you know where you are based on what you're experiencing, based on the kind of people that you're interacting with, based on the kind of life you're experiencing. And if you are experiencing conflict, it's coming from inside of you, and the people around you are reflecting it. So with the new earth, we will see societies where people are living more of a natural life, not so much stress, not necessarily what you would call primitive, because there are new inventions being created every day. But the way we live, cooperative, sharing, benevolent, will make the difference. Because these societies will find ways of interacting that separates them from the systems that are cruel and exploitive, whether it's their own intermonetary system where they have a means of circulating and sharing that which is designated as the symbol of trade, whether it's free energy sources, using the energy of the sun, the wind, the rain, solar power. We're going to see that increasing because it's moving away of exploitive energy systems and systems that require us to destroy the earth or fight over what's inside the earth, fight over oil, go to war over gold and what's in the ground. So new earth systems will not use any of that causes conflict. So we're going to see a rise in solar energy as the source that's provided by the sun. And it's something that is shareable with all. So we're going to see that. We're going to see systems where people live in cooperative family groups. Now, if you are in a society where people are so selfish and you've got everybody in their own little space and single parents struggling because the mother and father could not agree, and so now everybody struggles, everybody's angry, everybody's trying to maintain their own space, everybody doesn't have enough. That kind of a society is not sustainable. And that's why it creates ongoing stress. So when people are able to cooperatively form families, and those families are able to cooperatively live together, those families will evolve to a state where they're living at peace with each other within the community that they live. And it's not necessarily going to be based on a religion or a race or skin color or any of the dividing things that keep us in a state of division. It will be based on where you are spiritually. Do you understand these principles of living? And when you do, you will gravitate toward those spirits who also understand it and be able to work together. And you will experience the benefits of that right here in these times. Even as in other parts of the world, people are choosing to kill each other over resources and power. They're choosing that because they're living in the state of fear, which is the lower vibration, the old earth energy. And you, with your community of people, are living in the vibration of love, which is the new earth energy. And it's right here, right now. So let's take one last break, and then we'll come back and share more with Dolores Cannon as she explains to us what we're experiencing and why and how we are ascending. We'll be right back. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. So stay with us.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
And we are back. You are watching the Female Solution Global broadcast. I'm Naimah Latif. Make sure you tune in tonight on the On-Air Daily News Hour. We're going to share some news about the Obama Center opening. Quite an experience. And that is another indication of where we are seeing our world divide. But we'll talk about that tonight at 7 as you see some of the wonderful expressions of a time that was momentous in our nation and in our world. We'll talk about that tonight. 7 p.m. Join us right here, back on the Female Solution. And of course, come on back tomorrow for Master Force with Mushem Sud. And we are always enjoying her enlightening programs, and you don't want to miss it. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And now let's take another look at Dolores Cannon as she gives us insight on the 3 waves of volunteers and the new earth.
This is why. They put it out there. Whoever gets it, that's fine with them. That's the way they're doing it now. But I asked them one time, I said, okay. They said, you have free will. And then the prime directive of Star Trek is very, very real. Non-interference. You cannot interfere with a developing species. So I said, all right, you're coming and giving these things to the people. Isn't that interference? They said, no, that's a gift that we give them when the time is right. What they do with it is up to them. And a lot of times they don't use it the way we wanted them to use it. They'll turn it into a weapon, or they'll use it in a negative way. But it was intended for good. So it gets to that point, they give you a gift. And I said, well, can't you come back and tell them you're not doing it right? It was not what it was intended for. He said, that is interference. Give it to you once and see what you do with it. If you don't use it in the right way, then nothing they can do about it, because that would be interfering. So many times they sit there and shake their head. They said, for goodness sake, why are you doing this for? We give it to you for a good reason, and you're turning around and using it like this. This is important for you to know so you can understand the 3 waves. Anything that is supposed to be developed will be developed in the proper time, because they know when the civilization needs the next information, the next invention, the next step up the ladder. Well, if you understand, they've been watching us since the beginning and taking care of us. When we dropped the bomb, the atomic bomb, at the end of World War II, that really got their attention. They've been watching us all during the war. See, they can't stop the wars. They can't stop everything we're doing. They're just watching. They're watching us all during the war. Well, here at the end of the war, we developed atomic power. And what do we do with it? We go and make a bomb. That got their attention. They said, we better get down there and see what these kids are up to. And they were very unhappy about it, because it was not supposed to be in our timeline yet. When it was time for it to be developed, it was supposed to be developed for peace, for energy, for electricity. It was not supposed to be used for a weapon. But once you create something for negativity, it has that, what we call aura of negativity around it, and it will never really be what it was supposed to be. But they said they're really worried about it, because they said these kids don't know what they're playing around with. Because they just came through this horrible war. They can't take care of themselves. They have no idea what they're doing. Now they bring up atomic power. They could destroy the world. They have no idea what they're working with. I left a piece out there. It's going to come back to me, though. Okay. I have all this information flooding into my head, and you have no idea the energy that's coming off the audience, too. That's the reason I sit down. A smaller target that way. Okay. Okay. But, you see, humans have been on Earth for so long, making the same mistakes over and over and over. We're caught on the wheel of karma, and they know this. They said, you can't even figure out your own lives. You got the country in a mess. You just came through this war. Because people go through the same lives over and over again, making the same mistakes. The karma over and over and over. They don't learn. They got to keep coming back to do it over again. If Jesus came to save us from anything, what I found out was he came to save us from the wheel of karma, because we were just going round and around and around, making the same mistakes instead of moving up the ladder. And he was to show us how to live through love. But people didn't understand it, and they killed him. So here we're going, life after life after life, going round and around, making the same mistakes over and over again with the same people. They said, these kids can't even take care of their own lives. They can't take care of the world. They're never going to be able to understand atomic power. They will blow up the world. Now, the law of non-interference just goes so far. They are not allowed to interfere unless we get to the point we could destroy the world. If that were to happen, it would cause reverberations throughout the whole solar system and into other parts of the galaxy. You have no idea what it would do if this, I said, this little planet, we're isolated over here on purpose. We're a young planet. They want to keep us away from everybody else. They don't want us to contaminate the rest of those planets. But if this little insignificant planet were to destroy itself, it would send reverberations out, and it would also go into other dimensions and interfere with lives of other people on other planets, that it would be like undeclared war. You can't even begin to believe the reverberations it would have if something happened to this planet. So they said that's the only way they could ever interfere. But if we reached the point we were going to destroy the world, then they would have to step in. This has happened countless times through history, and I'm going to be going over some of that. Oh, but they've always been there. This is the thing. So they knew that atomic power was so dangerous in the hands of children that we could misuse it and destroy the world. They said, what are we going to do now? We can't come in and say, stop it, you can't do it. That's interference. They came up with what I thought is a brilliant plan. They went back to the councils, they had meetings on this. They said, all right, we can't interfere from the outside. Maybe we can influence from the inside. So they came up with a brilliant plan. The people on Earth aren't doing it. They're too stuck in karma, too stuck on the wheel. We're going to have to bring in other souls that have never been here before and that are not stuck on the wheel of karma. Those are the ones we're going to have to bring in. Pure souls, never been contaminated by Earth before. So that was what they decided to do. And the call went out for volunteers. And I've had hundreds of these sessions, and I've written about them in the books about, I'd find one here, one there, and that's why the whole story is coming together about the 3 waves. Now, none of you know this consciously, but now that it's coming out in my radio shows and the Project Camelot and the books, I get emails all the time saying, I'm first wave, I'm second wave. Now it makes sense, I finally understand. But on your conscious level, you don't understand. You don't know what in the world's going on. Okay.
Guys, if PetSmart showed you this, they'd lose an entire aisle in their store.
Of course, we are out of time, and it's time for you to reflect. We'll come back again next week and talk more about those 3 waves of volunteers, souls that chose to be born at this time to influence the Earth's direction so that we would not blow ourselves up. Well, as we'll find out, we've been successful, and there is a changing direction, and what many saw as what was going to be a horrific end is not happening, and there is a different timeline that we're going down. And those who are getting the inspiration to start podcasts and programs and put out communication that is raising the consciousness of humanity, they're all a part of this effort in changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. And that's our mission here. And that's what our wonderful team of hosts do every single day. So we want you to come on back tonight and join us for the On-Air Daily News Hour. Come on back tomorrow and every day after that on the Female Solution Global Broadcast. I'm Naimah Latif. And if you'd like to hear more about Dolores Cannon, of course, just type in Dolores Cannon on YouTube. And you can see many of her podcasts, her programs, her lectures. And we're looking forward to inviting her daughter, Julia Cannon, who's continuing her work on as one of our guests, our voices of enlightenment, that are continuing the work of evolving Earth into a new Earth. I'm Naimah Latif, and until next time, we want you to continue to shine your light. See you next week. See you tonight.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.